What's up, everybody? We are here for a session remix, which I am so excited about. And this is where you get to submit a question, idea, something you're stumped with, programming in general. We are going to talk about how to overcome your writer's block or your programming block so that you can inject more fun and aliveness into your sessions and you get to have more fun. I mean, that is the whole point. You are sparking your energy and your passion for what you love to do, which is lead people through movement. So, this question was a social media post yesterday, or sorry, I posted an answer on social media to a warm up question. But for the live today, I wanted to talk about another question that I received, which is so good. I literally have just read it. I have not given myself a lot of time to marinate and prepare. So this is definitely live and off the cuff so that you can see my process of marinating on these different topics. So the question that came in was from a personal trainer that they have a client who's working on balance and coordination, but the exercises get repetitive, which happens. And um, they can get repetitive really fast, like even week to week, right? So, how can you turn balance training into a fun experience? And so, I love this question because if you are in the gym and you are having to only use a certain amount of equipment, that can limit you in how you approach the different goals that you have for a session. So, if your goal is balance and coordination, you might only have things like dumbbells and a pull up machine or a pull down machine, a bench. Maybe you have some med balls, maybe you have some bands, maybe you have a yoga mat. I'm trying to think like bare bones of what like a bare bones gym would have. But then a lot of gyms do have a lot more fun toys at their disposal. So then we can get a little bit more creative. But even if you don't have things like a ladder, for instance, you can use any type of tape and put tape on the ground, for example, to mark where you want clients to step or clients to avoid. I think that would be the safest thing. You don't want to put like a dumbbell on the ground, maybe for avoidance. But so what we're going to do is we are going to go through this question in every session remix. We are going to go through the PLAYFiT framework, which is play, adapt, connect, explore, and thrive. And so each of these frameworks is also the theme of every season that we run coaches through in our leadership journey. So everything is repetitive and coordinated so that you're never like, what is she talking about? So let's look at coordination exercises, balance exercises. We're going to lump them into this same grouping. I know that we can get super technical about the difference between a balance exercise and a coordination exercise. And those will come up as we talk about very specific fun ways that we can program. But for right now, we're just lumping those two words into the same thing. So the first step in our framework is play. And play is what you think of it as like when you were a kid, or if you have kids, or if you train kids. It is just the experience of doing something for the feeling and the curiosity that it brings about. And so there is no purpose to the activity of play, but play as a whole concept is really meaningful. And so, you can, I always think about this like random things like when you were a kid going on the swings, and if you watch kids go swing, you were never like I'm going to go on this swing to feel the dynamics and the gravity, the gravitational pull of my body against, what it feels like to have motion in this swing. Like that was never the point. We knew that it felt good. We got to go high. We got to maybe sit on it in a different way. We would stand on it. We would lay on our bellies. We would twist. We were just doing it because it was just a really fun physical experience, and we got to do all these things and it made us really happy. We were laughing. Maybe we did it with friends or family. So it was just all about the experience, and that was just the modality in which it happened, right? So if we think about this level of balance and coordination work from a play perspective, it's almost taking a step back and shifting from being a teller of the thing. So you're like, hey, we are going to balance on one foot now for 30 seconds. Instead of framing it in that way, it's almost like reframing it, your client experience, as an exploration for them to get curious and then get more curious. So can you create an opportunity for them to explore their own balance and coordination instead of you telling them exactly how to explore it? I hope that makes sense. So instead of you saying, we're going to balance on your right leg for 30 seconds, and they're just performing that act, it turns into more of a what would happen if, or how would you do this? Um, a really simple variation could be just going on a walk. And as you walk, I got this activity from Wild Strong, is you just bend down and brush the flowers, the grass with your fingers. Like you're not picking anything, but this could easily be a warm up where you're asking people to, every time they take a step, they alternate bending down. Like how many scoops can you do as you walk from this side of the room to the other, or this side of the field to the other side? You can ask them to explore how would they find their balance if they had to hold um like a dumbbell or a med ball or something in a certain way. How could they only be on one leg for this activity? If we are asking them to balance and move, and we're trying to mimic a movement during the session, so maybe they're hinging. Now we can get into, can they pick up something off the ground, like they're on one leg, single leg? Can they pick something off the ground and throw it over their shoulder if they're outside, for example, and you can like drop weight, or if it's a med ball inside? How many times can they do that in a minute, we'll say? And maybe they have to hop to turn themselves around to grab their med ball and like do it again. If certain populations can do that, or maybe they have to switch legs. They have to turn around and switch legs. Like, how would they do that? Like, how would they transition from one leg to the other while turning around? You're asking that of them. You're not specifically telling them, like, hey, we're going to take 3 steps to turn our body around. So for coordination work, if we are playing, oh my gosh, that kind of opens up even more opportunities in that framework, because what is coordination? It is reacting to a set of things and parameters, be it, if it's a ladder, we have to time our feet to be in in the squares or on the squares or outside the squares. And we have to maybe react to catch something or dodge something. So now that sounds like a game to me. So can you just either play a beloved game like tag, and you are getting so much in just a simple game of tag. You can theme it, you can add in different implements that the tagger can use, like a penny or a foam sword, or um, they can have everyone can have one arm behind their back, because that is going to challenge their coordination and their balance, or they have two hands behind their back and they have to run, and that is going to challenge their balance and coordination. So now we can start to have many layers into how to make something more fun and exploratory within that play framework. And that was a lot, and that was just play. So here we go down. So I love it because now you can start to understand that you have so many options, and options can be overwhelming, but they can also be freeing. So I hope that you're leaning more towards the freeing side. If you're feeling stuck, you want more options to pull from. So our next step in our framework is adapt. So what do we mean by adapt? So what I wrote, which I'm reading, is that you should be adapting to how intelligent the human body is. It is so smart, it has so much potential, and we can adapt to this full body experience, this athletic experience. And so we can train the body and train the mind. I know there are a lot of coaches out there that will have their athletes be doing something and then they ask them a math problem, or they ask them to sing a song or recite something. So there are many ways that we can train the body and the mind at the same time. If that's your jam, you can go for it. But we want to allow everyone to find success, and we want them to be challenged enough to where they can find success, not all the time, because we have to overcome those obstacles to learn how to do it the best way for us. So there has to be challenge, and that's where the adaptation comes, is because you can't do something the same way and expect the same results, as Einstein said. And so I instantly think of coaching soccer, because if I need my kiddos to get better at spreading out, I'm going to put them in scenarios where maybe they don't have a lot of space and they have to figure out how to spread out in a very small, confined area. And it's very stacked in their favor. So maybe it's 4 players playing offense, 1 player playing attack. I wouldn't even start there. I would start with them just passing the ball in the space so they can get used to what that is. And then you add a defender. And now it's, oh, we have a little bit of chaos. And then what happens if we add 2 defenders? We start to have to move the ball smarter and a little bit quicker. All right, now we add 3. Now it's almost like athlete to athlete, man to man, and they have to play a lot smarter in those scenarios, and they have to move a lot better and work together. But we're slowly increasing the stress and the chaos. But there is going to come a point where everyone gets tired and we start making mistakes. And so you have to learn as an instructor that you can throw in the chaos, and you can throw it in, but you have to understand that it might just be for a minute or 2, and then you have to back off, because the kids and the adults alike have to find success for them to be enjoying it and want to keep doing it and learn something from it. And all along the way, you're like, hey, why are you finding success? Why is this going well for you? What are you doing right? I'm seeing this. Okay, cool. What could you be doing a little bit better? Like, I always ask my kids to tell me what they could be doing better, because they know what they can be doing better. And then you're like, great, I want to see you touch the ball away from the defender and then make your decision, right? So you are coaching them all at the same time. And then you throw that defender in and that chaos in there, and you see what happens. And if it's too overwhelming, you remove it. And then the other thing that you can do is maybe you have 4 attackers and 2 defenders, and it's a little bit too stressful, right? So now the other thing that we can do is we can make the field bigger. So now not only can we change one aspect of it, we can change a second thing. And now everyone has a lot more room to breathe. Everyone has more time and more space. And then they can find success again in a slightly different way, but it's still the same goal, right? So, as a coach and as a movement leader, we have to think about all these different angles that we can approach the same problem from. And we can also be, um, we don't want to change too many things, and we also don't want to throw too many variables at our clients either. So we always want to go from simple warm up to complex at the end, get the body and the brain nice and warm, get the nervous system ready. And so with adapt, you can think about like, what is your main goal at the end of the workout? What's the most complicated thing that you're trying to teach? And then backtrack it all the way to the beginning, that simple warm up, and you adapt that all the way through. You can also adapt for different people. So everyone's going to have a different body, a different athletic capability. So you can adapt everything and you can get creative. So if we're talking about balance, let's say someone can't play tag. And so, like, what would that look like if someone just can't run? So how do they participate? So, I mean, the first thing that comes into my head is we had this really fun game where if you got tagged, you became seaweed, you became stationary, and you were just like trying to tag people as they ran by you. That is super fun, and people do really enjoy not moving sometimes. So you could have that person be your seaweed in the middle of your ocean trying to tag people as well, because it is really good for the other participants to learn to avoid, because we have to look around, we have to be aware of our surroundings. If someone can't play tag and you don't think that they would enjoy being your seaweed in the middle of the ocean, you could start the game off where no one is allowed to run. So everyone has to walk. You are not allowed to get into that trot. And so now we're walking or speed walking, and maybe that person can now participate because it's walking and everything's a little bit slower, right? Because your reaction time is a little bit slower when you're walking, and everyone can be laughing and enjoying it. And what I was just processing was like, you could make the space smaller for walking, and that's going to cause a lot more chaos, right? Because you're bumping into each other a lot easier. And then once you start to move faster and faster, you would open up the space and everyone would have like a lot more space to roam. And then they weren't risking running into each other at higher speeds and all that jazz. And they have a lot more time to make decisions. So that person that can't walk or can't run, we'll say, man, you could make them like a role. You can make them a team captain. You could have another team have a team captain, so then they're both like standing on the sideline together. You could do where it's dependent on something. So maybe you have two teams, and part A of the team is doing like squats and sit-ups and playing catch or whatever. And then once that team got to 20 of that thing, all the people playing tag would freeze and then everyone would switch roles. So you can make it to where people aren't having to do all the things because they can't. So how can you get creative to make sure like at all times there's an option for those people who can't necessarily run or jump or, be crazy. It's also an opportunity to add a different class. So if that person can't do all the things that like a higher level class can do, maybe you do have like a beginners or like a 101 class, or you have your regular class and then you have your like elite class, and that class you can program and have super fun and do crazy stuff. And then your normal classes maybe don't have as many crazy components, dynamic components. So lots to think about for adapt there. And all along the way, if you guys have questions, put them in the comments and we can have those conversations too. So how would you build connection through balance and coordination work? So connect to me means that people are getting to know each other beyond a first name basis. They might get to know if they have kids, if they have pets, if they're going on vacation, if they have a second home, what their job is like, are they a stay-at-home parent? Do they love to eat Japanese food? Like, you're actually building friendships and relationships, not just like passing ships in the night that just come to work out and then everyone leaves. So they're excited to be there with each other and they are all bought into supporting each other. And the only way that happens is as you, as a leader, take the time to set that stage, right? So when we look at balance and coordination work, can we turn something that was created into a collaborative game? So maybe it's that tag situation, and the movement part. So part movement, part tag, but maybe there's like another component and it's turned into more of a relay race. And now people are cheering each other on, and only two people are going at the same time. They're getting through this gauntlet of something that you created. And at different parts of that gauntlet, they're working on their balance. And then at other times, they're working on like coordinated movements, either by avoiding each other, like playing tag, or they're stepping over or under something. They're doing ladder work or something like a ladder on the ground. Um, and so they're relying on one another. There are so many games where teams have to work together, beyond the typical, like what you think. So if you are like, one of my favorites is like move the mountain, where you just have like all the equipment possible that can be moved one piece at a time, excuse me, and you, as a team, as fast as and safely as possible, you have to move all your pieces from point A to point B. But the trick is that you can only take one step, one step further. So like you can't ever go past the last person, the furthest person. Like you can only take one step, right? So you can start to put all these fun conditions on a game, and then they have to figure out as a team like how to actually make it happen. And what are they getting? They're getting carries. They're getting like as fast as they can go, because maybe they have someone on their team who's really fast and they're really strong, so they could carry a heavier weight. With a bigger step, with a faster step, they can go from the back of the line to the front faster. But then even someone who's walking, maybe they're really strong too, they can carry that weight for that step or that goal or that objective. You can also tell them that they can only move by lunging. They can only move by going backwards, walking backwards. They can only move by crab crawl. This is where your mind just starts to explode, because you can think of the goal and you can think of a fun way to get there, but then you can also change every little piece along the way to make it even more fun and playful and curious and adaptive for your people. So that's connect. How can you get people working together to form bonds that are stronger than a typical workout session? The next one is explore. For me, this is about exploring different spaces within your community. So that could be going on an urban walk or ruck, and you can have different fun objectives within that. You could play a huge citywide game of a scavenger hunt, and they all have to do certain things along the way. They have to do like fitnessy things along the way. They have to carry sand or kettlebells or something with them, something fun. They have to dress up. There's a theme. There's teams. There's many different teams. There's um, they create, like, you have teams, but then they create things, objectives for the other team. So now they're really invested in creating something for the opposing team. But we're exploring parks, trails, urban spaces, museums, um, different beaches, but you're getting out into your community and just starting to utilize the elements and those third spaces. Maybe it's a basketball court, a football field, tennis court. Um, Man, it would be so cool if you set up something where it was like you played a game of pickleball to a score of 5, and then those teams had to go on and they had to like run or move down through the park where they had a 100 squat challenge, and then they had to mosey on to the next thing, and you just had this like park wide, obstacle course or something. Like, that would be so fun for an event, like a morning 2 to 3 hour event, right? So explore is really about getting out of the four walls of your gym, or out of your usual park space, and getting and exploring different spaces. Because when we go into different spaces, our nervous system is reacting differently. It's strange. We've never been there before. We don't know what to expect. And so you have this heightened sense of alertness. And then also you have different elements to play with. So you have different logs to walk over or walk on. You have water, you have bridges, you have hard blacktop, we've got all of these different things that like we need in our senses as a human. We need variety to keep us sharp and keep our memory strong and all of that fun stuff. And so the last one is thrive. So this one is really made for coaches and having conversations with all of the things that we've talked about for you to thrive. So how are you creating programming that you love to teach and lead people through because it's interesting to you, it excites you, you're excited to lead it, your clients are excited to lead it, you're also getting more clients because you're being more creative, and it's allowing you to thrive. Because the last thing we want is for you to be another statistic and to be a burned out personal trainer. I've met so many in my life. I did personal training for 3 years and then I got burned out. I was a strength and conditioning coach for 2 years, and then my workload was so much that I had to get a desk job, and I miss it, and blah blah. And so like it happens. Like, it is an industry where people get fried, and I do not want that for you. And I also want you to have a fun life as well as leading fun activities. And through these fun activities, I hope that you are attracting more of the clientele that really needs your help, because we are only hitting the tip of the iceberg in the clients that we are bringing in, especially to gyms. There are 99% of the population in your town is never going to come into your gym. You have to just swallow that pill. So if we are getting out and running these fun classes in parks and on trails and in urban spaces and on basketball courts and just in really fun, unique ways that are going to attract people who need fitness. They need you. They have things going on. We all know the health statistics. They need you to do something different so that they can say yes and come play and get fit with you consistently. So Thrive is all about you showing up differently in all the ways that we just talked about within creating fun programming. And so you can have a thriving life, and you are also causing that ripple effect for your clients to experience a better life as well. Because it all starts with us as the movement leaders. So that was a session remix. I hope that you loved it and enjoyed it and got to see a little bit about how my brain works when it is attached to a programming problem. And each week we will be going live at 11 a.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. I'm going to answer a submitted question, and you can submit them through the website playfitusa.com. Just go up into the menu and find the session remix page, and then there's a form for you to submit. And you can submit anonymously if you don't want me to know that it's you. But you can also provide your contact information so that I can let you know which week I'm going to be answering your questions so that you can watch live. But I hope you come anyways. So yeah, that was my answer for that. And then if anybody has any questions in the chat or in the comments, I'd be happy to get on there while live and chat it up with you as well. And then in the comments, I will be answering all the comments, helping you get the creative juices flowing. So until next week, I hope you have a great one. Make sure to subscribe and follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all the things, and send me a message if you want to connect further. Would love to have a chat. All right, y'all. See ya.